going?
It's going great. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you.
Awesome. I'm so glad I get to talk to you today.
Yeah,
So,
this is great.
yeah. So I'm just going to do a little introduction really quick. So for everybody that doesn't know, this is Lauren Ash. She's known for her role as Dina in Superstore and for her new role as Lexi in Not Dead Yet, which just wrapped its first season and we loved, by the way. It was great. And now she's released her debut single last week, and it's called Now I Know. And we just want to talk to you about that. That is,
Amazing.
yeah.
I love it.
So I heard, in February you had an amazing birthday bash. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a big birthday this year and I was kind of like, what is the way that I want to celebrate this? And the answer was I wanted to hire a band and play a concert for all of my loved ones, basically forcing them to attend and view. But the kind of feeling was like, I didn't want to just like do a show. I wanted to like feel like a rock star. So I kind of, made it very clear to people that it was like, move up close to the stage, like, don't be a dud, be a good audience member. I made free merch. There was a merch stand with t-shirts and hats and all kinds of things. And it was the best night of my life, honest to God. I had the best time. We did like a song of 10, a 10 song set of covers. And then we took a break and then I came back and did a 3-song encore. So really just kind of milking it for as much as I could take. But it was that experience that one of the guys in the band was like, do you write music? And I'm like, I do, like I always have, but I don't really play it for anybody. And he's like, well, we should like work on something. And so that's kind of what led me to pursuing releasing the single, which has been like an amazing journey that I didn't see coming.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally awesome. I know I saw a lot of the pictures that you've uploaded of your birthday, and it looked like just an amazingly good time. And I'm very jealous that I want to do that at some point in my life because that looked like so much fun.
You got to do it. You got to do it. It's
Yeah,
the best. You just have to. You have to.
yeah. So, what was your favorite part about performing live?
It's such a different experience because I come from obviously like a live performance background in terms of being an actor and being a comedian. But it's just a different feeling. There's something that's really kind of interesting to me about doing something that's kind of more serious. I think, again, I've done dramatic acting and all of the above, but there's something about like going out and earnestly performing and singing and hoping that that entertains somebody. That's just such a different part of my creative brain. So I think for me, it was really kind of feeling what that was and kind of connecting to like, how do I do this? I don't know how I do this do I play the part of a rock star? Do I tap into what this earnest feeling is for me? And so I've had another show since then. I threw a release party in LA for in celebration of my single. And
Yeah.
like friends of mine commented, they were like, oh, it felt like you were like so connected this time. And I was like, yeah, I think it really is just taken a couple times. So I think that my favorite thing is like, just, yeah, discovering at a very kind of like, I've been a performer for a very, very long time. So connecting to something new was the most exciting bit.
Yeah, I could see how that would like just bringing you a little bit out of your comfort zone and
Yeah.
trying something new. I feel like is always something that's really rewarding. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Do you kind of wish that you would have maybe branched into music a little bit sooner?
Yeah. It's interesting because I actually I self-recorded. This was, oh my gosh, this would have been 2008. I want to say I like recorded an album of music in my living room in February. And it's bad. It's not good. It's not great. One of the like 10 songs I think actually was a pretty good song. I should revisit that one. But I think for me, it was so daunting and it felt like, I think as my career as an actor has kind of grown, I've felt that like, well, I don't want people to be like, oh, okay, another actress wants to be a singer. Like I think I was really kind of more overcome with like not wanting to seem like a poser, which is so funny because it's like, but you've always done this. Like, it's not like you're just I've always written songs since I was like 13. I just didn't really do anything with them. It was something that I
Right.
did for my own sense of fulfillment. So I think ultimately, yes, I wish I could have started sooner, but I think that the timing made sense. Like it was like I'm to the point. I've turned 40. I do not give a shit. I do not care. If people think I'm a poser, great. I do not care. I'm going to do the thing that brings me joy, that makes me excited, that is a new experience. And I think again, it potentially did take getting to that point in my life for it to make sense.
Right. Yeah. I feel like, we all like to say, oh yeah, I wish I could have done this better or sooner. But I mean, we wouldn't be who we are today to get to that point without those experiences. So it's, I don't know.
Totally. It's also
Yeah.
like the ability to have perspective and the ability to approach something that is collaborative, because again, I did write the song, I wrote the lyrics, I wrote the music, but I'm not writing the drum part. I'm not writing the bass line. Like that's what bringing in a producer and these band members. So it's also being open in a way and not like super precious, like being able to like, oh, wow, that's not how I heard it, but that sounds even better. And so I think again, it takes kind of, for me, it's taken like the wisdom that comes with age to, I think, to really be successful in that kind of journey.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So you said that you have written music since you were 13, but so this song, Now I Know, you wrote that a while ago?
I wrote it, I think 2019.
Okay.
End of 2019. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and it was, I think I read on your Instagram, it was about like a previous, relationship and everything.
A very short-lived relationship, dating experience. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because there's been so much time since then, obviously, in my
Mhm.
real life, that now when people are hearing it for the first time, they're like, oh my gosh, this is so sad. Like, who hurt you? Who is this person? We hate this person, whatever. And I'm like, it's funny because for me, I'm more removed from that.
Yeah.
I'm removed from like the raw emotions. And I think it also surprises some people when they hear that it was about something that was very short-lived. But I think that there's something that's very interesting about the shorter relationships, the shorter interactions that are so intense, I think can lend themselves to songwriting, because it's such a like high stakes emotion. A relationship that you're in that for 4 years or longer, and it sadly kind of fizzles and you grow apart or whatever. Yeah, there's obviously fodder there too. But I think in terms of an intensity to connect to that could be an inspiration for a song, I do think that those shorter relationships can kind of be the thing sometimes.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I feel like if it's more of like a longer drawn out relationship and stuff, when it ends, I feel like you have more of like the sadder, sappy kind of song, but something that was like, fireworks and everything, like it's just a whole different experience.
Totally.
So yeah. So when you were in high school, were you kind of a band geek or like a drama kid or choir
I
singer?
did everything. So I was definitely a drama kid. I joined the school band because I knew that there was going to be a trip to Florida to Disney World. And I was like, well, I got to get decent enough at some instrument to go. So I actually started playing the bass guitar in our
Okay.
high school band, again, with my intention being trying to get on that trip, which I did succeed at, by the way. But I
Perfect.
did get into, I played bass for a while. I can't sing and play bass at the same time, or I've never been able to get to that level. So it kind of faded away for me as a musician a little bit. But yeah, I also was the one in high school who like organized all the events. I organized all the assemblies. I organized all the coffee houses. Like I was also I did like a music night every year. My older friends did it when I was, early years, and then I took over for them in my later years in high school. But like I did everything, but a very large part of it was music. Again, like, yes, I wrote songs at that time that were exceptionally long. And yes, I did play them publicly in those in all of those events I just listed.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because at the time I was like, this isn't it yet. I don't know that am I doing this right? I don't know. But truthfully at the time, like if you had asked me at the time, like, do you want to be an actor or do you want to be in a rock band? I mean, the answer would have been that I wanted to be in a rock band, like that
Yeah.
more than anything, always. But yeah, I think I was in a band also in high school, very briefly. We were called DNA.
Mhm.
Mhm. And we did mostly covers. But we did do, I think, one or two originals too. But yeah, it was like such a huge part of my high school experience was first of all, just doing everything, but certainly the focus was heavily on music, drama too. But again, I think really, if I look at it, I think I was playing more music and doing more music related things than even acting, which is wild to think about.
Right. Yeah. Because you would think that, having that passion, would have maybe led you toward more like musically inclined things, but, not
Well,
to say.
yeah, but it's interesting too, because my time at the Second City, which is obviously sketch and improv, one of the things that I did consistently there was songs. I did comedy songs consistently throughout my time in the Second City, Toronto, and Chicago. Now, granted, I am not an incredible guitar player by any stretch, and I'm not being humble. I'm really very basic, but I can play enough that I can write simple songs that have simple melodies, which is all you need to write comedy songs, obviously. So that became one of my things. Like, that was one of the things that I did consistently during my time there. So it does feel like it's always kind of been like just under the surface for me throughout my career, certainly.
Yeah. That's awesome. So like, what are some of your musical influences? Like, what gets you through the day?
I mean, it's always varying. I definitely feel like, the stuff that got me influenced early on was like Green Day Dookie was a big album for me. That was like, I've never heard anything like this before. Whole Live Through This was probably like the most integral album to making me want to do music. And all the women throughout that era too. Like, I loved all those bands like Veruca Salt and Letters to Cleo, and like all those kinds of bands were like definitely touchstones for me. I was also into a lot of Canadian music that didn't necessarily get big down here, but there was an amazing like alt rock scene in Canada in the late 90s and early 2000s that was like super influential, super impactful on me, and all of the above. And then I got into like Blink-182 and The Used and all those kind of bands in the 2000s. And then now it's like I'm still kind of stuck in my old rotations of those albums, certainly, but I also like love Harry Styles. I'm super into Youngblood. Like, there's so many, like, which again, in high school, I would have been horrified at the idea of liking Harry Styles. Like, it's too mainstream, but again, this is what I'm talking about. Like, with the delight of age, you learn that life is too short to be like, I can't listen to anything unless it's punk rock. Exactly. That's who I am, man.
Yeah.
That's just, but I think also too, like, other influences are like Queen, Freddie Mercury, like Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks. Like, I think, and that's been Queen I was definitely into when I was, pretty young too. But I think over the last like 10 years, I've really kind of enjoyed going back to those touchstones and kind of filling out so it wasn't only one genre, very specific genre of pop punk. It's the only thing I could possibly ever listen to. It's been fun to kind of explore that too, which has been a huge, I mean, obviously, like, Fleetwood Mac, the Stevie Nicks songs that she did with Fleetwood Mac, I think are big, even though it's genre wise so different. I love her as a songwriter, but even then, like, Dolly Parton, you know what I mean? Like, these are the huge touchstones that start to become. It starts to take on different meaning, I think, too. I know I keep talking about aging, but aging is a privilege. I feel very blessed that I've living at 40, and not everybody gets that privilege. But yeah, I think it's been really kind of like throwing it all in the pot over the past few years.
Yeah. And I mean, you could definitely hear the pop punk vibes in your new song and everything. I really liked it. So
thank you. That was my era though. Like the early 2000s, that era of pop punk was like, that's my music. That's the stuff that I'll always kind of come back to. So that's what I was like setting out to do. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do pop punk stuff. And these guys are like, okay.
Sure.
But I think it's having a real kind of rebirth. There's a real resurgence. I think like young people are discovering those bands from like the late 90s now, which is so cool. I love it.
Yeah. It was interesting. On the radio, some of the DJs were talking about The Cure. They just came through here, and they were saying that, there was a lot of older people, but there was a lot of a younger generation there. And I just think that's really cool, that it's, some of the older kind of music is being brought through to the newer generations and everything. That gives me hope. I love it. So
absolutely. I hear you. I was at a Foo Fighters concert once. This was probably a decade ago, but there was some young boys in the crowd, and they were like, I heard that this guy used to play drums for a different band. And I was like, get Nana her walker. I've never
You
felt
have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Changed the face of
Yeah.
music. One of the biggest bands of all time. But yeah, some band. He played the drums in some band.
Oh my goodness. That's
Funny.
funny. So do you have any like plans for upcoming projects, like an EP, a full album, maybe like a collaboration with Harry Styles or something?
Oh my God, what a dream that would be. What a dream that would be. I do. I have another single that's going to be coming out later this month. I haven't announced this, but I will tell you here. It's a pop punk cover of Umbrella by Rihanna, which is unbelievably fun.
Excited. That's going to be cool.
It's so fun. I played it live. We played it live at my single release party. And it was like, I love the recording. I think the recording's awesome, but like, that's a song that you play live and you're just like, there's nothing more fun. It's such a great song. It really lends itself to that genre. I think that I just heard it in my head so specifically. I remember like being in the studio and being like, we got to play this as fast as humanly possible. Like it's got to be so fast.
Yeah.
And it turned out so well. So I'm really excited for people to hear that. And I'm continuing to write new songs and record. And the hopes is absolutely doing an EP. I think it's interesting how we consume music now, how it's such a different kind of experience.
Right.
In some ways, that's really liberating as someone who's just kind of exploring being a musical artist of some kind. There's something that's really kind of freeing about removing the pressure of like, you've got to come up with an album of 10 to 14 songs. And if you got to do it, you know what I mean? And it's got to be cohesive.
Yeah.
There's something that I've found really lovely about like, I want to record this song that I wrote that I really like. And then I'm going to record another one. And then I'm going to record another one and kind of feeling it out as you go, I think is really helpful in terms of like finding what your voice is and both like lyrically and literally. And yeah, so I'm excited. But an EP again, that feels like a tangible, that's like a reasonable goal, which I like.
Yeah. Start with that. And then soon enough, you're going to be touring and
there it is. There it is. And then you'll see me on a side stage at a festival that I'm far too small to be at. It'll be great. That's the dream.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be amazing. So, I mean, I am a really huge fan of Superstore. So I just have to ask really quick, did you improv any of the scenes in Superstore?
A lot, all the time. Yeah, all the time. Yes. So the Mark McKinney and I, who played Glenn, almost any interaction, any scenes with the two of us, I can say this, we improvised every day. So it's to varying degrees how much got used, but they used a fair amount of it. There's some iconic things that were definitely improvised by us. And certainly anytime Mark and I had a scene, we would get it as scripted and then it would very quickly go off the rails completely. So it was a total dream for me coming from an improv background too. I was like, the fact that they're letting us do this and then they're actually also like using it if it's funny, that's like a dream. There's like nothing, I can't think of anything better than being able to like collaborate in that kind of way. That's so in my wheelhouse,
Yeah. That's awesome. I figured that maybe what it was, because I was like, she's so funny. There's no way they didn't just let her just riff and go to town, but you never know.
Well, thank you. I appreciate. Listen, we had very funny writers too, who wrote amazing, hilarious jokes, but they're definitely, I think that as viewers, a lot of viewers, you can tell when there's something intangible to a scene or a performance where it's like, why does this feel different? And I think that oftentimes that's because there's been riffing and improv happening and it just has that, again, that intangible magic around it that you just can't ever script. You just would never be able to, even if you sat down for 1,000 hours, there's stuff that just comes out in the moment that you could never possibly think of.
That gives way to some of the best scenes, I think. So
and the interactions too, and being in those characters who by the end we had been in for so long, it became such a joy. And cast members too that had more of an acting background that were intimidated by improv. It was fun watching over the course of 6 years, watching those people start to do it too. And then there's the Halloween episode. I can't remember. They all run together, but the one with the stolen fruit, that one, Ben Feldman improvised that whole bit in our interrogation scene. He does a whole thing about like, do you know, but is it real?
Interrogates Self. Yes.
Yeah. That was improvised, and I'll never forget it because he's such an amazing. I mean, my God, he's like an Emmy nominee. Like he's an amazing for Mad Men. He's an amazing actor. But I always told him too, I was like, dude, you're funny. Like you just need to go. And like, I remember that being like a pinnacle moment where after that, I was like, okay, we got him. We got him in the pocket now. Now it's going to be, now we're going to have some real fun. And I remember him doing that scene and I was like, dude, that's hilarious. Don't ever tell me that you can't improvise because I just watched it. So
it's in you.
It's in you. Exactly. It's in you.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate you sitting down and taking
Oh my
time out of
gosh.
me. It was so much fun.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm so excited that anyone wants to talk to me about my music. It's amazing. So I really appreciate you and your time.
So I was just, scrolling. I saw that you were going to release it and I immediately, oh, hi, Doug. I immediately messaged it to my boyfriend and I was like, she's releasing stuff. Let's see if we can talk to her about it. That's so cool. So
I love it. I love it. Listen, the power of the internet. I think that, the internet gets a bad rap because, spoiler alert, there's a lot of dumpster fire stuff on there. But I think it's also an amazing tool to get to connect with people that you may not normally, that 20 years ago, we would never have been able to connect to people. And I think that's a really cool thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's amazing. I love it.
I love it.
Well, for everybody, be sure to check out Lauren Ash's new single. It's available for purchase and streaming. Apple Music, Amazon, anywhere you can stream, it's available. So check it out because it is awesome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks so much.